The Alt is the newest board in Massdrop's line of keyboards that started with the Control. A lot of people have been commenting on its similarity to the Control, Whitebox, the Z70 and others, and I'm just going to speculate on how I think it'll turn out and whether the price tag is justified. I don't have any exclusive or insider information, so don't take anything I say as more than semi-educated guesses. I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's not really a copy of the Z70, Z70 Pro, or the Whitebox. The main similarities that people are listing is the layout, RGB, and hot swappability, but none of those are really unique features. The Alt has the Whitebox Aria layout. It has a standard non-split backspace, along with the gap between the right modifiers and the arrow keys. This layout has also been seen in the Z70 Pro as well as the more high-end Canoe. I think this is going to be a pretty good layout for a lot of people since it can be covered by just the most basic keycap sets with an addition of the short right shift. Personally, I like the backspace layout, but it's not a big deal. Next in the similarities list is the RGB backlighting. The lighting situation on the Alt is a direct adaptation of the one seen in the Input Club K-Type and the Massdrop Control. There is per key RGB as well as underglow that lights a piece of acrylic around the perimeter of the board. This combination of switch LED and underglow LED isn't something that's seen in a 65%. As a matter of fact, it's not really seen in any other keyboard outside the K-Type. Hot swap capability is also a big selling feature of the Alt. This is something we've been seeing more and more of in the community, but currently the only other hot swap 65% board that I can think of is the Z70 Pro, but I think that's still in production. So like the K-Type, the primary focus of the Alt is to provide as many features as possible. By that, I mean that I think the build quality and typing experience might suffer a little bit to make budget headroom for the presumably very expensive PCB. One issue that will likely come up is the stabilizers. The K-Type had terrible ones, and while a Massdrop rep said that the Control will get better ones, the sound test they provided was not really evidence of a huge improvement. So I think you should set aside about $15 when buying the Alt for genuine plate mount stabilizers to significantly improve your typing experience. They seem to be using the same general keycaps as the ones seen in Massdrop Control. It's a pretty familiar colorway, but I don't think it looks particularly good here. In my opinion, for an RGB focused keyboard like this, all other elements should be all white or all black to let the lights shine. In any case, the OEM for them is probably going to be Taihao, so they're likely to have the sandy texture that comes from the antimicrobial coating, which a lot of people complained about on the K-Type. Additionally, they're not particularly thick, so for the best typing experience, you're going to want to pick up some aftermarket keycaps. This is 100% personal, but I also think SA and other high-profile keycaps don't look very good on low-profile boards like this, so I'd stick to something like OEM or Cherry. Moving on to the case, it seems to be pretty much a scaled-down version of the K-Type design. It has the integrated plate top case, the middle acrylic layer, and the thin bottom aluminum plate. I think the design of the top case will provide more rigidity than something like a Whitebox, whose plate is just a flat piece of aluminum. This might provide a more confident bottom out, which may or may not be desirable to you. This might also address a complaint I had with the K-Type's pinging, which was especially noticeable with tactile switches. I think the reduced surface area of the top piece should lower the amount of reverberations. I also like the positioning of the feet. This is a feature that's carried over from the Control. Another complaint I had with the K-Type was that the bar design feet sometimes didn't sit flush on the desk. This was made even worse if you had a heavy monitor or something on a long surface, which causes flex in the desk. The Alt provides a more traditional solution with 2 feet in either corner, and judging by the presence of the back bump-ons, I would assume that the riser feet are magnetically attached. This should provide you with the option of using your board with or without an angle. For the most part, you're probably going to just leave it in one configuration, but having this easy option to change it is a plus. In conclusion, I think the Massdrop Alt can stand on its own. The Control was a pretty transparent copy of the K-Type, but adapting this design to a smaller form factor was probably not a trivial task. Within the form factor, this board is pretty unique in its features and should make a great starter option. I won't be picking one of these up, but that's just because I'm not really into low-profile keyboards now, and I care very little about lighting. But for anyone else, I'd say this is a pretty solid pick. If you are joining, do make sure to check out one of the Halo switch options. I can't say for sure, since Massdrop will probably sell these on their own in the future, but if they don't before these ship, you'll be able to sell them for an insane aftermarket price. think over $1 per switch. Besides, I think the Halo clears are actually pretty good switches on their own too. Definitely do not get the Cherry MX Brown options because you're effectively paying $60 for arguably the worst MX style switch. So if you want some brown switch, I'd say just get the bare bones option and buy Gatoron Browns instead. I think $180 for this board is pretty fair. It's definitely not cheap, but for around the same ballpark as the White Fox and the Z70, you're objectively getting more features. So if you're into that, this looks pretty great. Again, this is just pure speculation based on my experience with the K-Type and other similar boards, but I hope that gives you a better idea of what you can expect. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more keyboard related content.